All right. Hey guys, welcome back. Wednesday training, another one. Every Wednesday I go live on Facebook and YouTube and I don't know, every channel that you can imagine. And we talk about certain topics that I like to break down for either fatherhood or being an elite husband and building deeper connection with your kids. I think it's just super valuable and super important. And the more that we start stacking these skills, because I really believe that it's a skill development that no one handed us a blueprint to be an amazing father or an awesome husband. There was no manual. And just like anything, if you go to the gym or you work on your career and your job and success, all of these things are skills you develop. And I believe it's the same thing for your marriage and your family. So the more we can stack on skills and the more we can do some of that deeper work, the better you're going to get and the better you're going to show up for your family and wife, kids, husband, everything. I almost said husband. So you show up for everybody in a powerful way. So today, I'm going to talk about the top five, I think, mistakes that a lot of dads make, including myself. I was going through this list myself, and I'm like, oh man, like these are the. I was just laughing because I'm like, yes, I just made that one last week. So they keep coming up, and so you've really got to just work and hone them. And I also want to say, like, when we get into some of this like new age parenting or some of like the woo woo kind of parenting skills, I think a lot of times it's like we're being too soft. And so yes, there is a balance of soft skills, but then there are times I think we need to be rigid. Maybe we need to be more just stern, right? I think that's a part of masculinity that is being lost. So never go to the extreme in any of these, but take these for what they are and see where you are probably way too hard, way too constricted, way too resistant towards your kids. And you can bring a softer approach. And the science shows that too. So it's not just me making this up. There's a lot of good resources out there. People like Dan Siegel are pioneers in the movement. So I'm going to talk about the top five mistakes dads make with their kids when it comes to discipline. Before I do so, if you're not in my first responder fathers group and you're a first responder and a man and you want to upgrade your marriage, your kids, your family, jump on board. The group is free. Just type in the hashtag hero in the comments and I will send you a link to get you involved and get you in a group of men that want to hold you accountable. And these are all the skills that we're working on a regular basis. So again, jump in that community, super valuable, and it's free. So it's like, why would you not take advantage of that? I know through my own transformation, being a dad, leader, husband, all of that came through men's work and having a group of men that I could rely on and share feelings. I don't want to say vulnerabilities, but it could be depending where you're at, but just a place where you can share new ideas and see what everyone else is going through. A lot of time in this process, you feel alone. And when you actually realize, oh my God, there's other people out there going through the exact same thing, it brings a lot of solace and a lot of healing. So jump in there if you're not already a member. All right, let's jump into it, guys. Without further ado, let's talk about the five. Number one is discipline usually becomes a consequence-based idea instead of teaching based, right? The whole purpose of discipline is that we teach our kids something, right? That's why we're doing it. We have gotten stuck in the mindset that it's consequence. I know I fall into that trap. That's my go-to because that's how I was raised. And so my wife is constantly being like, what is the purpose for this consequence? She's always asking me like, does it require a consequence? Not saying that it doesn't, but like, have you thought of like the why behind the consequence? Like, do you even know? And the bottom line is if you're just doing it sometimes there's going to be needs to do that. Maybe you have to control somebody for safety or something like that, right? Or like even last night, I was thinking my kids, like there was a point where they crossed the line. It was just getting out of hand. Like there's only so much like soft talking I can do. But when you think about the consequence in general, right? Why are you making the consequence, right? A lot of times we don't even know. And we forgot that the role is, again, to teach our children how to live well in the world. Like that's the bottom line. A lot of our disciplining comes from our own habits. Like I said, when I was a kid, what I learned, and it's just on autopilot. Our brain just reacts to what is habitual, what is convenient, and what is easy to do. And so when you're disciplining your kids, ask yourselves again, what is the real objective? Is there a better way that I could do this? Maybe without even consequences at all. I don't know, but start thinking about that. Teaching people, not consequence based. That's number one. Number two is we think that if we're disciplining, that it has to come out harsh and it can't be warm and it can't be nurturing. This just happened. I was just talking to a coach. He was coaching me, and because this is something I'm always working on, how to be better, how to up level myself. And we were talking about this same idea. Is like, man, when it comes to me disciplining, I always come out hard, like just, because again, that's that sternness and that's what I learned. Those are just habits. And so, is it possible for me to respond calm, loving, nurturing? Is it possible for me to use a kind tone of voice? Again, remember what the goal of discipline. No one's saying just because you're coming off kind doesn't mean that you can remain strong and consistent. Like no one's saying that you can't be that. There was this. I was just talking to another father who works in a tactical company. He says, it's this idea of like being stern and disciplined, but then also being warm in the heart and like knowing that your kids they feel connected with you. And so that's the key. Is like, can we build connection that communicates warmth, love, respect, compassion? Is it possible to have that duality? And I think these things can coexist. So again, sometimes you're going to have to be stern. Don't get it twisted. Don't think that I'm telling you always, come on, you need to come out warm and nurturing for every. No, of course not. We know that's not true. But a lot of times I know, victim to the other spectrum where there's no way. If I'm talking to them and I'm talking about discipline, it's serious tone, it's eyes of evil, just like laser eyes staring at them. And so sometimes it doesn't need to be that way. But again, because the behavior has become so rote for us, we don't know how to get out of it. So that's number two. Number three is we talk way damn too much, right? A lot of times, especially during tantrums, I noticed this, parents are just talking and talking and the kids can't even listen. When it comes, you think about the brain not even being developed to like you're 25, like fully developed, right? Like the emotional dysregulation that's happening for kids, they are stuck in the primitive amygdala brain. So they're just completely hijacked. They can't even bring in the prefrontal cortex. They can't even bring in the logical side of the brain most of the time. So you talking to them ain't going to do anything. It's just blah, 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 blah. It's like that Charlie Brown thing, right? So instead, try using more nonverbal communication. Use touch, right? Hold them, rub their shoulders, smile. Just offer a facial expression that like says connected, empathy, right? Maybe just a nod to them. But you are not going to get anywhere when they are hijacked and when they're going crazy, right? When it's a very big emotions. And think about it, when you're emotionally hijacked, I think even as a first responder, we know this, like we know that like when you're hijacked from the amygdala, right? Are your shots more accurate? No. Right? We call that like conditioned black, right? Think about people in fires and people when they're going into battle, there's so much like they don't even know what happened. It's the same thing with kids. They have no idea. They are an emotional hijack and you're just running on autopilot. So if you want to bring the logic side, which is always really good, do it afterwards when everybody's calm. Have that after action report, if you will, and then address those issues when everybody's calm and the prefrontal cortex, that logical part of the brain, can be engaged. Okay, that's number three. Number four, and we're going to wrap things up here pretty soon. There's only two more, is we focus a lot on the behavior and not enough on the why behind the behavior, right? Think about doctors. I look at health in a very holistic way. Most doctors, the average doctor, what do? They just prescribe you pills and potions. You have a symptom, oh, take this. You have diabetes, take metformin. Like, okay, well, that's helping block. It's like Band-Aid for the symptom, but you're never getting to the root cause. So it's the same thing with us. When we're just constantly bickering and yelling and screaming and dishing out consequences, you're missing the root cause for kids. You're missing their actual behavior and thinking, man, this is a symptom of something else that is coming up, that is not being taken care of. And so think about, again, if we don't connect with our kids' behaviors, right? If we don't connect with their feelings at the root cause, then how do we know that it's going to be feeling then equals a behavior, right? So let's start connecting to those feelings. And many of us, if you're a police officer like I once was for 15 years, like you already have that instinctually in you. Like you're a detective, be a detective with your kids. Like figure out what is the behavior that is creating these feelings, or I'm sorry, what is the feelings that are creating this behavior? Is it, and curiosity, anger, frustration, exhaustion, anger, hungry, right? But what is causing this behavior? Think about that and be that detective. Go ask yourself why. And if you can get to the root cause of the why of these feelings and where they're coming up, then you can finally start to curtail that behavior that maybe you don't like too much. And the last one, number 5, is we communicate that our kids shouldn't experience big or negative feelings. This is a big one. And this is one, since I was 18 years old, I really started cultivating positivity, optimism. I was down in the dumps and I read a Tony Robbins book that taught me all about conditioning yourself for being in a high performance state and conditioning yourself to always be in like the optimistic, upbeat state. That has helped me very well in life. But it also transcends to my kids where I'm often saying things like, look on the right side, or the glass is always half full. And I'm not really allowing them to feel their feelings because guess what? I never felt them myself. I was just ignoring my feelings and never wanted to feel them. That eventually will catch up with you. We don't want that for our kids, right? We don't want that. So I know for me, when they get too crazy, it's really easy for me just to shut down from their reactions. And I know we don't mean to do this, but the more we continue to do this, right, it's basically sending them the signal that we're not interested in being with them if they're not happy. And that's not good. We need to be able to handle them at their best. I mean, I'm sorry, at their worst. We need to be able to handle them at their worst because that is true love. That's true connection. Like, give me the best you got. I'm still going to be by your side, even at your absolute worst. I got you. I love you. It's good. Like, I'm here for you. So that's a really key one. And I think a common phrase a lot of parents will say, and I know I've said it even as dads, is, hey, when you're ready to be nice, then you can rejoin us. I know I've said that several times. My dad said it to me. I've heard these things. We hear families say it all the time. Again, think about when you're saying that, you're completely just negating their feelings. We want to communicate again that we're there for them, even at their worst, not just certain behaviors that and feelings. If they're being expressed, we can't say no to those behaviors all the time. We want to say yes to their emotions and that we welcome all the emotions, even the ones that, let's face it, we just don't like. And maybe they're not even healthy, right? Obviously, negative, sad, depression. Like if that emotional state goes on for too long, that's a problem, right? And so we don't want that dysregulation to continue forever. But if we don't meet with it, welcome it, and accept it, it's just going to keep festering. And so that's the key, and that's a really hard concept. For me especially, I always just downplay these emotions and these feelings and just say, well, always, think positive, and you're just sugarcoating, a bad experience with positivity, you're slapping it on top. And that's not good. Eventually it's going to catch up. And we know from adulthood, I'm sure many of you experienced this, like, yeah, it caught up to you, right? So just a quick summary, a quick review. Number one is top 5 mistakes I think most dads make. I know I make all of these, and I have to constantly check myself and come back to these and discipline myself, right? So number one, discipline becomes consequence based instead of teaching based. That's number one. Number two, we think that if we're disciplining, it can't be warm, it can't be nurturing. Number three, we talk too much. Number four, we focus too much on the behavior and not enough on the why, the root cause behind the behavior. And the last one, we communicate that our kids shouldn't experience big or negative feelings. Guys, let me know if any of these resonated with you, what you liked about them. Drop me a comment, share with somebody, let them know that you like this. And again, if you're interested in learning more, there's like 20 of these mistakes. I just took the top 5. If you want to learn more about those mistakes, I'm happy to send you a cheat sheet that I made, or even like a refrigerator sheet that you can put on your refrigerator to kind of help you remind and actually the step-by-step process to connect with your kids during these emotional tantrums or experiences where it's just way too much, right? So I have that cheat sheet. If you want the cheat sheet, drop me a comment below in the comments. And if you're not in the group, the First Responder Men's group, and you want to join, again, throw me the hashtag hero. You can DM me privately if you want to do that, or simply, again, hashtag hero, and I'll send you all the details. Have an amazing rest of your week, guys. I hope it's on fire.